Now at 9, the count is over. A new president is named.
Joseph R. Biden Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes.
The nation shaken after a deadly attack on the Capitol.
They've essentially overtaken the front of the Capitol, and there's an overwhelming number of people for the Capitol Police.
The world watching to see what America does next.
Report we make is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and the vice president according to the ballots that have been given to us.
The count is finally done. Members of Congress affirming President-elect Joe Biden's Electoral College victory over President Donald Trump. This morning, the country recovering and digesting a very dark day in American history as pro-Trump supporters stormed into the United States Capitol.
Yeah, it was something else, Olivia. First, this just in, Instagram and Facebook have announced that they are going to be blocking President Trump during the rest of his presidency. So we know that one woman died during the attack yesterday. Today, we're seeing more alarming images from the scene. This is new video this morning of rioters storming the Capitol, demanding justice, chanting USA and Stop the Steal. More images from the riots, people breaking the windows of the Capitol building and climbing through and up and over. We're also seeing pictures from inside, lawmakers hiding or racing to safety as rioters broke in. One representative talked about the terrifying moments.
In a 20-minute period there where we were surrounded and had no way out, and I haven't felt that way in over 15 years since I was a ranger in Iraq and Afghanistan, where I thought that there was a possibility I'd have to fight my way out.
That was Colorado Representative Jason Crow describing the moments lawmakers tried to make it to safety.
And with every tragedy comes the heroes. And this morning, the country is thanking the Senate aides whose quick thinking saved the voting process. Senator Jeff Merkley posting this picture saying if the aides had not grabbed the Electoral College ballots, the votes would have been burned by the mob.
And one of the most outspoken Republican opponents of President Trump speaking out last night with a powerful speech, Utah Senator Mitt Romney blasting those who supported the objection, pushing his colleagues to tell their voters the truth.
No congressional audit is ever going to convince these voters, particularly when the president will continue to say that the election was stolen. The best way we can show respect for the voters who are upset is by telling them the truth.
Many of those challenging the results of the election without evidence have been calling for audits. Here in Maricopa County, the Board of Supervisors says an audit will be conducted, but not until after all the legal challenges are over.
And this morning, we're learning a stunning new development. There are reports some of President Trump's cabinet members are discussing invoking the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. Tess standing by now with more on this.
Olivia, good morning. That's right. The 25th Amendment allows removing a president if he can't discharge the powers and duties of his office. But it can only be done with the approval and the agreement of the vice president and the majority of cabinet members. So that's where we stand this morning of how they sit on this. This morning, Arizona Congressman Greg Stanton is one of the lawmakers urging Vice President Mike Pence to go ahead and invoke the 25th Amendment. Congressman Stanton is a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and earlier yesterday, Democrats on that committee sent a letter to the vice president urging him to invoke the 25th Amendment. Here's Stanton explaining that he signed and what he signed on that letter.
The 25th Amendment should be utilized with this president. I don't come to that conclusion lightly, but what he has done post-election, this is not about policies before that, but post-election, his unwillingness to allow for a peaceful transfer of power, which is, you know, the #1 characteristic of our democracy in the United States of America. His unwillingness to accept the reality of his loss in this election and inciting things like the tragedy you saw today at the United States Capitol. Sadly, I've come to the conclusion that, yes, it is time.
Earlier this morning, the White House released a statement from President Trump saying, though he disagrees with the outcome of the election, he did promise an orderly transition on January 20th. And while the president could actually still delay the process to run the clock on Inauguration Day past the 20th of this month, this really is a serious part of the fallout from yesterday's attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters. So we will see what happens if it moves any further. We heard earlier from one of the experts on this, that it would be a difficult thing to do, but it's a possibility.
And some of the escalation of this conversation coming because it was Vice President Pence who was communicating with the Pentagon to get extra resources there to the Capitol in the midst of all of this. And Donald Trump was left out of that conversation entirely. Tess, thank you very much. Let's take a look here at home. A large crowd gathered at the state Capitol. President Trump's supporters still protesting the election results.
And after President Biden's victory was declared by Congress, local lawmakers reacting to the chaos in D.C. Ernie has more on what they have to say about this. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, at this time yesterday, as supporters of the president gathered here at the state capitol, no one had any idea the chaos that would break out in our nation's capital or Arizona's role at the center of it all.
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
Right there, that was Congressman Paul Gosar speaking up and objecting against the election results from Arizona. Now, he was actually joined by East Valley Congressman Andy Biggs as the only two Arizona lawmakers to object to the results. Now, he was actually speaking on the House floor when the chaos erupted. Lawmakers were forced to shelter in place, and many were rushed back to their offices to safety. Now, among those spotted in the crowd, the mob who took over the Capitol, another man with Arizona ties, Jake Angeli, who is also known as the Q shaman, who not only made his way inside, but he was seen seated in front of the U.S. Senate. Now, Angeli has been seen at several Arizona protests over the past year, including the days of demonstrations outside the Maricopa County Recorder's office immediately following the November election. Now, right now, the FBI is actively searching and trying to track down everyone involved that may also face some criminal charges. Now, back here at the Capitol, the changes that we are seeing this morning, there's some cement blockades along Adams here, Adams and 17th, as well as just around the perimeter of these Capitol buildings, there is now a fence. Now, getting back to yesterday's election results, the only election results from Arizona and Pennsylvania ended up being debated, but eventually Congress voted to accept the results and officially finalizing Joe Biden's victory. Reporting live at the Capitol, I'm Ernie LeBeau for Arizona's Family.
Ernie, thank you. We're going to follow the developments out of our nation's capital for updates throughout the day. Take a look here at these scenes. Just incredible, right? The day. You can log on to azfamily.com or our mobile news app. Will have all the latest for you as authorities do pursue making more arrests.
Let's focus on the coronavirus here in the state of Arizona as we like to take a deeper dive. So on Tuesday, we told you we had a record amount of deaths since the pandemic started, the highest death reports coming at 253. Sadly, today, that record has been broken. So according to the Arizona Department of Health Services, 297 more deaths are being added to the state's total. It's important to note, of those, 238 are from death certificate matching, but that still plays into the total of 9,741 Arizonans who have lost their lives since the pandemic started. And I want to stay with deaths here. I don't mean to alarm you, but it's important that we report what's going on. So in the month of December, we had the highest number of deaths since the pandemic. we're talking 2,488. Now, as they continue doing the death certificate matching, they continue to add to those totals and backfill. Let's talk about hospital breakdown, because really they're at a breaking point right now. Currently hospitalized, this is the highest we've had reported at 6,021 since the pandemic started. You look at the ICU beds, that is the highest as well, 1,096, as well as ER visits, and that really puts our capacity at 93%, both ICU beds and inpatient capacity. So our hospitals are at a breaking point. You can see that right here. Not much left. We're talking hundreds of beds across the entire state. Our positivity rate remains high at 26%. It's the highest it's been since the pandemic. Now, remember when we were all concerned and those other mitigation efforts were put in place due to the summer surge, we are here, and still no new mitigation efforts are being addressed right now. Talk about first wave versus second wave. This wave, we are 14 weeks into this surge, and we continue to see record number of cases across the entire state. So just a reminder, be safe out there, folks. All this information on our website, azfamily.com.
Bouncing back, Arizona's economy hit hard by the pandemic, but one local business community has hope. We'll tell you why.
All right, taking a step outside, there's the Superstition Mountains. A little bit of haze out there. What's the air quality like? We'll take a look at that coming up in just a bit.